What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. So this is going to be your review for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 13, episode 14. And so we start this episode off. We have Kenya and Marlo. Marlo is opening up a showroom where she can rent out her designer clothes. Now, I don't know how I feel about people renting clothes. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think you'd be better off, Marlo, just selling stuff on consignment. Like, opening up a showroom where you can sell your designer things, and once people buy it, they can just have it. Like, girl, you ain't gonna wear it no more. Sell it. Anyway, so the two of them are hanging out, and Kenya was like, this is really cool because, I have been, we used to be really good friends, and it's cool that we could sit around and talk again. Well, while they was there, Miss Marlo decides to tell, I think Fallon was there and invited them to her Halloween party. Marlo was saying that she can't come because she's already, gonna be booked. But this was an opportunity for her to tell her, for Marlo to tell Miss Kenya, listen, girl, when we was down to the party down the other night, night before Cynthia's wedding, honey, Miss Latoya was telling all your business. And I didn't understand what that was about. So, of course, Kenya feels some kind of way about it. Like, well, wait a minute. Why is she telling my business? And, of course, in her mind, this is not the first time that Latoya has betrayed her. And I'm like, girl, ain't nobody betraying you. That was a betrayal. But the first thing down to the lake, girl, that wasn't no betrayal. But her telling your private business, now that was a betrayal. That was a lie. And so of course she's gonna talk to Miss Latoya about it, and she feels some kind of way, and I think she should. Like, y'all know, I'm gonna be fair when it's fair, and in this case, Kenya got a right to be really upset with Latoya. So Drew is talking to her mom, and she's letting her mom know, listen, my man wants to send me down to New Orleans. He has some opportunities for me down there, and I think this would be a good opportunity for us to have like a girls trip, sort of like I'll invite the ladies down to let them see how I party. And so she's talking to her mom, and she's like, listen, this is going to be a great time for me to meet the other part of my family. And her mother was like, oh, yeah. And they started talking about, living in New Orleans. And she was talking about how in the summertime she remembers as a kid traveling, and she remembers segregation and not being able to stop certain places because there was no place for black people to spend the night, no hotels for black people, gas stations, the Jim Crow South, right? So then Drew was saying, well, I don't really even know that side of my family. Like, I know grandma, papa, auntie, whatever. She said, and so her mother was like, well, you have a whole white component of your family. And Drew was like, but are they really my family? And you could tell she was real apprehensive about approaching it. And what we find out is that her mom was adopted. And so she's speaking of her family through her, her adoptive family. And I can understand that because, listen, when you adopt, like, that is the goal, is that no one feels like their life is separate or their family is separate. So absolutely, positively, that's her mom, her dad, and so his relatives are her relatives. And so she's speaking of her family. But I also feel like Drew was talking more along the lines of her actual blood lineage. And so she asked her mom, would she ever be open to maybe meeting her real dad and family, because her son's father has been reaching out, and he wants to become a part of his son's life. He wants that to happen. And so she asked her mom about that, and her mom was like, yeah, no. First of all, he probably dead, and at this point, I don't know him, he don't know me, and it is what it is. Like, I got my family, I'm good. So that was like, okay, we're gonna back up off that a little bit. Now, then, later on in the episode, we see her, talking to Ralph about it. And Ralph, it seems like he's been very supportive of her son meeting his dad. Now, it sounds like her baby daddy, got in some trouble and he was in jail, but he's out of jail now. He wants to reconnect with his son. But of course, his son is like, how does that little boy, like 7 or 8 now? Like he's old enough that he can meet his dad, but young enough that it's still kind of confusing to him, because they sit down and they talk to him, and he calls him his old dad versus Ralph, his, new dad. And he was very clear that he has no interest in meeting his dad. None. He don't want to meet him. He don't want to talk to him on the phone. When they do talk on the phone, he seems to find excuses that why he don't want to talk on the phone and why he don't want to say nothing. And she said they did meet about a year ago, and it was very confusing to him, and he was sort of upset by it. And so it hasn't been a smooth transition. And her thing is, my biggest concern is, before I press the issue and really push this man into my son's life, I need to make sure he living right. I need to make sure that he living right and he doing what he's supposed to be doing over there. Like, that's my concern. I 100% understand that. But the flip side that I also understand is you're the adult. You're the parent. And I understand being respectful of him making decisions, but that's his dad. Blood dad. And what you don't want, because see, people have revisionist history. And kids remember things the way they perceive it. And when he gets to be 18, 19 years old, he's not going to remember this conversation where he said, no, I don't want to meet my dad. He's going to think, damn, my mama kept my dad away from me for my whole life. And so I just would hate to see you get into that, Drew. But I also understand you want to protect your son, and you don't want to force him to be around somebody or get to know somebody that he may not be comfortable with. It's a hard situation, and I don't have a definitive answer. I don't have children, and so I certainly am not going to judge whatever decision Drew decides to make. But it's definitely, he was very clear, though, that he ain't interested. They did get him to a maybe, though. He went from a no, he's not interested, to a maybe he'll meet his dad. So I think they can take that and continue to build on it. Maybe start slow. I mean, we was in the middle of COVID, so do some FaceTime calls. Talk on the phone. I don't know. Excuse me. Do some group outings before you sort of, push this thing home. You know what I mean? Anyway. So then we see Cynthia and Mike. It's they're after the wedding. We still got the wedding glow. Child, we found out that Cynthia's vows were 10 minutes long. Girl, those weren't vows. That was just you telling stories about your husband. That is not a vow, Cynthia. That was you bragging about how much you love your husband. Okay, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Cynthia. Girl. So then they decide that Mike just decided that he wants to buy a house in LA and wants them to live, that he wants to make that their home base. He said, in Atlanta. He said, I love LA, but I really like Atlanta, and we get more bang for our buck here, as far as the size of a house and everything. And I guess he figured I can do whatever I'm doing. I can continue to fly back and forth, and we good. He said, but I would like to buy our own, He said, Lake Bailey is cool and everything, but I really would like for us to have our own house that's our own space together. And I think that that's good, especially if you financially can afford to do that. I think that is a really, really good idea. Do rent Lake Bailey. I think she should turn it into an Airbnb. Because who wouldn't want to stay at Lake Bailey, child? It would stay booked up, honey. Turn it into an Airbnb. Go on and move with your man on over into his new house that he gonna get and be fly. And what I could appreciate is she was like, listen, Mike is an alpha man, and I'm okay with that. He wants his own space. He wants something that we bought together that doesn't necessarily belong to her. And I can respect that. Drew called while they were at brunch. Inviting them to New Orleans. And she said, Ralph gonna get us a private jet. And she said, and I'm not even gonna be petty. I'm gonna go on and invite Kenya to get on the jet with us. And I said, well, go ahead, girl. You go ahead and don't be petty. Because I'd have been petty. I'd have been petty. Yeah, I'd have been petty. She would have had to get her own flight. Anyway, moving on. But she said she really wants to, do a girls trip, and do it the right way, She being petty too, she want to do it the right way, girl. So it is Fallon's Halloween party. And it looks like she has done a really nice job of decorating her house. And she's got like a whole haunted house entrance into the house, and it's cool. Cynthia showed up as hand sanitizer. I mean, if that's what you say it is, okay. Fallon was Medusa. Was beautiful. Her makeup and everything was gorgeous. Candy was a cheetah. Portia was a kitten. Portia had on a black outfit with some kitten ears, child. She didn't even put no effort. Shamir was an astronaut. Marlo didn't come. Drew was a cat too, but she was like from the Broadway show Cats. Latoya was a mermaid. I think I said that already. Did I say everybody? Okay. Last but not least, Kenya was Native American. As we continue to evolve in this world and we continue to realize and respect other people's cultures and understand and be sensitive to appropriation, there are certain things that are no longer appropriate for us to do. And I thought that we had decided a couple of Halloweens ago that the Native American costume is not a costume and it is disrespectful. Kenya had a whole headdress on and everything. And I said, well, you know what? Maybe Kenya is Native American and she is gonna, and this is some sort of ode to her culture. And I kept waiting for that explanation. I kept waiting for her to address it. Drew said something in her confessional about it not being appropriate. Hell, even Portia said something about it not being appropriate. And I hate to keep bringing up the obvious, but when you gonna let Portia check you on how inappropriate something is, you might need to double check that. I am sure that as we speak, Twitter is dragging the dog shit out of Kenya. And I will look for the hashtag later on this evening, and we'll talk about it this week, because I know, they giving it to Kenya. Anyway, the ladies, I mean, once you go through the haunted house, it was sort of just, the ladies were just kind of doing nothing. Like, there were no other games that she had set up. Like, y'all not bobbing for apples. Y'all are not... I've played all kinds of games at adult Halloween parties. And at the very least, if you ain't gonna have no games, then at least make it a real party. Put some music on, have a DJ. I don't know, have a dance contest. Do something. But basically, she just had some food, some drink, and was like, okay, go through my little haunted house, and we just gonna sit around and talk. Now, the ladies were like, okay, she could have done better with the food. There's nothing here to do. We're a little bored, but okay, we're gonna figure it out. Now, the person who was the biggest mess of the party really actually ended up saving the party, I guess. LaToya shows up, and I feel like she was already drunk. She comes in talking about oh, your house is gorgeous. I guess this is what marrying a 65-year-old man will do for you. It'll get you on that come up. The come up. That's what we doing now, to come up. So Fallon, of course, she like kind of let it roll off her back. And then she was like, girl, this, where's the drink? And then she asked her for some weed. Is that what we doing too? We're just showing up at people's house asking for weed? Is that a party favor? I mean, I done been to some parties that had some brownies, but I ain't never been nowhere where you just walk in the door like, where the weed at? I didn't know that's what we was doing these days. So then she gonna tell Fallon, serve me in a house like this, in a house this size. I ain't gonna, cause they were like, you can go get your own drink like everybody else did. Serve me. Girl, Fallon did it. See, that's, First of all, I would have wanted to put your ass out my house when you came for me about my husband. But understanding that we filming the show and I probably didn't have permission to put you out, I'm gonna let you have that. But trust and believe. Okay. Then she actually served this girl a drink. So LaToya started making these smart comments about how Kenya not speaking to her and Kenya not returning her calls and Kenya been acting funny. And she was like, well, I mean, Kenya, if something's going on, tell me. Like, if I've been replaced, tell me I've been replaced. Kenya was like, well, you replaced me down in South Carolina. You replaced me in South Carolina. So then Toya says, listen, let me talk to you. Kenya was like, Toya, let me talk to you. So they go outside to talk. And Kenya is trying to have a conversation with LaToya about how upset she is that LaToya would tell her business. Child, again, LaToya is already drunk. And she is trying to explain herself. And it don't make sense what she's saying. It just doesn't make sense what she's saying. She tried to bring in Candy. First of all, that was two totally different conversations. Yes, Candy did bring it up. And she brought it up in front of people like Don Juan. But let's be clear. She had already told Don Juan. We already know she had already told Don Juan. But Kenya was like, you brought it up around people that you know I don't rock with. At least Candy is a friend. And you know Candy's a friend. But them, Portia, Shamia and them, you know I don't rock with them and they don't rock with me. Why would you tell them my personal business? She said, well, once Candy said something, I thought it was fair game. Kenya was like, this don't have nothing to do with Candy. This is about you betraying my trust. Like, I can't trust you. You can, Kenya. You can trust me, Kenya. You can trust me. And so Kenya is trying to talk to her and have a serious conversation with her. And Latoya keeps giggling. She keeps changing the subject. She was like, I just can't take you seriously with that thing on your head. And at that point, Kenya was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm trying to have a serious conversation with you. I'm trying to explain to you why I'm upset and what you did to upset me. And this is what's going on. Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm good. So they go back in the party, and Toya was like, this is boring. I'm going home. Can you walk me out? Kenya was like, no, I'm good. So she was like, Portia was like, I'll walk you to your car. And she was like, your friend will walk you. Portia said she'll walk you. Let Portia walk you out. So Portia ends up walking her out. And Portia was like, girl, what's going on? And so Toya starts telling her, well, Kenya is upset with me because of what I said to y'all at the party. Portia was like, well, we knew she would be like, that shouldn't be a surprise. Like, we told you when you said it that you probably shouldn't be saying it. So we're not surprised. Like, are you surprised? So then she said, well, talk to me. I mean, I really need to understand where this all started between you and Kenya. I mean, where did it start? I need to understand. And Portia was like, what you mean? Like, what is it? Like, she said, I don't understand what that has anything to do with, like, what does the history of me and Kenya have to do with y'all? And she said, well, I think Kenya's really upset because she feels like, in South Carolina, when she said, but we, like, okay, but what's the big deal? Like, so what? We kissed. Like, what does that have to do with Kenya being mad at you right now? Like, that has nothing to do, because basically at the end of the day, Kenya is mad. Yeah, Kenya might be motivated by the fact of what happened in South Carolina, but Kenya is mad at you because you told her business. That's two totally different issues. So while this is going on, Kenya decides that she's going to leave. So Fallon walks Kenya out, and so now all the four of them are out front of the house, and Toya continues to start, because in the house they were telling Fallon that wasn't cool what Latoya did, her coming for you and your husband, talking about your husband and this and this. And I feel like that put a little bit of a battery in Fallon's back, a little bit. So when they got outside, Fallon was like, I don't appreciate you coming in and disrespecting my home. This is me and my husband's house. And Toya was like, girl, this not your house. This don't belong to you. This is his house. This don't have nothing to do with you. And she continued, and mind you, she drunk. I don't know. It looked like she got into the driver's seat. I don't know where she was driving. I don't know why production was even letting her think that she was going to drive, because there was no reason that she should have been getting behind the wheel in nobody's car. She was drunk as hell. And she is taunting Fallon. She keeps yelling things at Fallon. Then she starts talking about her husband's dusty, droopy testicles. Okay? And at that point, the camera sort of blacked out, and all we saw was Fallon get up, like Toya walking back towards Fallon, and Fallon get up. Next thing you know, all we hear screaming, because now we back inside, and the ladies can hear the screaming, and we see production holding Fallon. Baby, Fallon came running through her house like a track star, because she was like, oh, you think that's the only way I can get to her? Oh, no, it's not. I'm going through my garage. I'm going to get to her ass one way or the other. Baby, production is holding her. The rest of the ladies are like, what the hell happened? Cynthia was out there too, so Cynthia is trying to tell them what happened. They end up having to take Fallon upstairs, and Candy was like, listen, I feel like that's our exit. It is time for us to leave, because that was a whole situation. Everybody agreed that Latoya was out of line, that she was doing too much and going too far, okay? Now, next week, it looks like they're going to be down to the New Orleans, and I'm hoping that somebody is going to plan an intervention, because, baby, I don't know what the hell was going on with Latoya, but it was way too much. It was over the top, and it was a lot. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought. Drop it in them comments. Peace.